war with Iran. The war in Ukraine continues to rage on. Today, Ukrainian officials say Russia attacked a civilian ship in the Black Sea hours after Vladimir Putin promised retaliation. Ukraine once again pushing the bounds of drones and autonomous warfare. This is video from this week showing unmanned drones attacking Russian ships. Ukraine has said it hit more than 100 ships in the last 9 days. Meanwhile, Russia continues their large-scale missiles and drone attacks on Ukrainian cities. Russian officials say this video from over the weekend shows 2 glide bombs hitting the area, killing 4 people. Let's bring in retired Lieutenant Colonel Danny Davis, host of Danny Davis Deep Dive. Thanks so much for being with us. Where do things stand right now with Russia and Ukraine? Who has the momentum?
You know, nobody really has momentum. This is a long, grinding war of attrition. Russia still has all the advantages because they have all the advantages that go into winning a war of attrition. They have more men, they have more ammunition, they have more industrial capacity, and they've got more drones, bombs, and fighter jets. They have more of all the things, and including mostly of all men. They have millions more. None of that has changed, and the Ukraine side continues to lose men. You saw they had riots in Lviv about a week or so ago because when these people go out to try and make people go into the army, now then they're resisting and doing, beating the people that are actually trying to get them in there. But the problem is that the drones on the Ukraine side are very substantial and very advanced, but they're also substantial and advanced on the Russian side. So that's kind of neutral. That's a wash. Everything else is on the Russian favor. So now then you're seeing with these advancements into the more and more long-range strikes, both from Russia to Ukraine and vice versa, and now you're seeing the naval activity. Ukraine has been hitting a lot of civilian Russian ships, grain transports, civilian vessels, and now Russia said, we're not just going to let that happen. So now then they're starting to hit the same. So we're expanding the targets. The West is saying, hey, we're going to keep on providing whatever Ukraine needs. But the problem with all this, Gotti, is that there's no objective in mind. There's not any path that, all right, if we do this, then Russia will lose and Ukraine will win. There's just more activity, violence on both sides. Meanwhile, Russia is, over time, will eventually ground down the Ukraine side. But that's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
This commercial ship attack by Russia, do you see that as a major escalation, or is this going to just fade into the rest of the relentless fighting that we see?
No, not at all, because it hasn't gotten a lot of press in the West. But the Ukraine side has a campaign of hitting civilian Russian ships, especially all around the Sea of Azov, and Russia has finally started striking back. So, if anything, the Ukraine side has escalated into the seas, and now Russia seems to be belatedly joining in.
Interesting. And there's been so much talk about Senator Lindsey Graham's sudden passing here. What is the United States relationship with Ukraine looking like going forward without somebody like Lindsey Graham with his, voice so close to the president's ear?
Well, listen, I mean, even with him, all the things that he had done and all the sanctions that he had advocated, all of the support packages that he had gone, none of them had any impact on the war. So his passing, and we're just talking about terms of what is and isn't successful, it won't make any difference because he was about to, stall a new sanctions package on the Russians. But there's already been 22 from the European Union, plus a whole slew of ours. Russia is basically sanctions proof, so it wasn't going to make a difference whether he was here or whether he wasn't. And I'm afraid nothing is going to make a difference because the things that go into the fundamentals of war are just too heavily weighted on Russian side, and you're just not going to reverse them.
Interesting. Do you think that the United States or the administration might also see it that way?
They definitely don't. I mean, you saw President Trump entered office saying he was going to end this in a day. And then he said, well, I was just kidding. It was really 100 days. And then it was like, all right, well, it's going to take a little longer than I thought. And then after 18 months, basically, he just gave up. And now then Marco Rubio last month said, you know what, we picked a side and we picked Ukraine. And then they had this $8 billion package, whatever. Now there's apparently going to be some sanctions, et cetera. But there's no pathway for us to do anything other than say we're going to stop our support for the Ukraine side and require them to have a negotiated settlement, or we're just going to continue to give them enough to keep the troops fed or whatever and a minimal amount of ammunition, but it won't make a difference and it will only prolong the suffering on the Ukraine side. That's the harsh reality of what we have here. Yeah. It's not going to make a difference.
No, you've always shot us so straight on all this. I mean, I hate to ask you point blank, but what do you think is going to end this war?
What I think is going to end this war is either the Ukraine side is eventually going to collapse because, like these riots that we saw, that's a red flag that the foundation for the manpower on the Ukraine side could beginning to fray, or it'll take another year or 2 years, and finally Russia will just ground them down because there's just more of everything that goes into making war on the Russian side. Those are the two options I see.
Yeah, Danny Davis, really appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Thank you.